Okay, who's feeling a little stressed? Who's feeling that holiday excitement, but also maybe some stress? Anyone?
Everyone's raising their hand. You can't see them,
Yeah,
but they're all raising their hand.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see them. I feel it.
So yeah, yeah, I'm feeling it too. Like I got a couple of presents, but I got a long way to go. So
Yeah.
anyway, this was a fun episode. We talked a lot about gratitude and lots of healthy habits and lots of ways to get through the holidays and keep your sanity.
Yes, yes. And thrive through the holidays. Enjoy them. Have time for
Yes.
those special moments. So, I hope you enjoy this episode.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome to the Warrior Parent Podcast. We're grateful that you're joining us this December of 2024, and we're going to focus on our core tools. So it's just going to be me and Debbie talking today. We're going to talk a little bit about core tools, but also just all the tools, all the ways that you can step into your holiday season, whatever holiday you are practicing, with more calm, more centeredness, more presence, more intention, and less worry, haggardness, running around, feeling like you're not doing enough. So that's the topic for today. If that feels like something that could be valuable for you, then I hope you'll join us. And so I'm going to let Debbie kick it off for us.
Okay. Well, we're just coming off Thanksgiving holiday, Marcy and I. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so we were just having a quick discussion about how our holidays went. And for me, this was the first time in probably 30, maybe 40 years that I have not hosted Thanksgiving. Everyone in the family, past families, everyone knows Thanksgiving is Debbie's thing. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, it had just happened that a bunch of people were going other places, people were shuffled around, and I got an opportunity to have just my husband and my kids together. And I just thought, gosh, am I going to make a turkey and go to all that work for 6 people? So a bunch of emails were showing up inviting me to go out for for Thanksgiving, and I did it, and it was fucking awesome. I have to say,
Yeah.
normally I'm doing dishes for 3 days afterwards, and
Yes.
it felt simple. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was probably the least stressed I've ever felt for Thanksgiving holiday. And don't get me wrong, I'll be cooking a lot more, but every
Yeah.
once in a while, I think it's okay to give yourself a break and not put so much pressure on yourself, right?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I'm a Thanksgiving person too. Since we moved back to California, we're coming up on 10 years now. We have hosted, we've called it progressive Thanksgiving, vegetarian Thanksgiving, just our Northern California bit of family and friends, eclectic group, lots of them, or at least some of them, some of the biggest chefs and helpers are vegetarians. So we went
Mhm.
vegetarian, which is like the food is fantastic. And we've had, as much as I don't know, maybe 25. This year we had I think 15. And I try to let other people bring stuff. And for sure I have some people who were helping out, and my mother-in-law was there and she made food. And yet I still found myself getting into that craziness of, well, we got to have mashed potatoes and we've got to have the sweet potatoes, and then we have potato um, salad because my German mother-in-law knows that I love her potato salad. So, and I'm thinking, why? Why do we have to have all this food on
Right.
this one day? Like, and but anyway, I still, even though I tried to do things ahead, I did the mashed potatoes in the crock pot, you know, but then there's apps, and I still felt like I was
Overwhelmed
just
a little bit.
running. And then I
Yeah.
had wonderful people in my home that I wanted to just sit down and chat with, and I didn't have as much time for that. And then that 3 days of dishes is not a joke. It's no exaggeration. You
Yeah.
are running the loads, you're hand washing. And I mean, I'm just today getting the rest of the stuff put away
Yeah.
because all the
Yes.
china comes out, and a lot of that has to be hand washed. And which
Yeah.
again, I don't have to do that. But if we didn't use the china on Christmas and Thanksgiving, I don't know. Maybe we maybe we just
We
need to
wouldn't
use
have
the
it at
china
all.
more. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
have it and I have handed down china and I do love it, but
Yeah.
anyway, I digress. My point was kind of like, what, it could have been like there were just a couple of those delicious foods would have been plenty, and then you
Yeah.
can enjoy them more and not be like, I need to try that and that and that and that
Yeah.
and
And then you're
seven
not
pies.
feeling so good by the end of the day either. Right? Because
Yeah,
had to try a little
yeah,
bit of
and then
everything.
more
Yeah.
cleaning and more plates and coffee,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's all great, but
It's a lot.
we like put this pressure on ourselves for this. And so I think some of this is Instagram and Facebook for sure, because you see people doing these amazing things and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's beautiful. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do that one and that cocktail and that whipped brie, which is messy. Why did I do that? Like, brie is delicious. It doesn't need to cut the rind off and then whip it. Yeah, it looks cool, but
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
do I do it to myself? Maybe this is the year 58 as I start figuring some of these things out.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yes, having
I'm a little bit older, so maybe I've just found a little
sure.
wisdom in my couple of years ahead of you. But
uh
anyway, I think we forget the point, right? Which is for me, you know, this whole month really is about gratitude. And it's interesting, while you and I were discussing that we were going to have this conversation on tools on the holiday, I tapped into a bunch of gratitude studies and some
mhm,
science around gratitude, and then
yeah.
some practices. And, you and I are
Mhm,
going to talk about tools for the holidays. So I wanted to
yeah.
share a little bit of this gratitude piece, which I found
Yeah.
fascinating because I have used this in my daily life for years, for a good 30 some years. I have practiced this,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating. So
It is a
historic,
tool and it is a practice. That's
for sure, for
yeah.
sure.
Again, we have to
So
be
yeah,
intentional about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly right. So what they say is, historically speaking, right, our brains are not wired just to be in gratitude all the time. Otherwise,
Mhm,
everyone would just walk around and probably be pretty much happy most of the time. But we're
mhm,
wired to for fight or flight, where minds are racing, like what's coming next and
mhm.
what's the next thing. And so we're hardwired that way. So to actually pull in gratitude, you actually have to practice it, and you have to do it daily or multiple times a day. I mean, it really is something that you have to work on, and then it becomes more natural, right? It becomes part of your day. So
Yeah.
I remember, I probably told the story before, but when I was super super sick, some 20 years ago, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to walk again. And so every morning I'd wake up and I'd put one foot on the floor and say, think. And I put the other foot on the floor and say, you. And that's how I started every day. And I still wake up and put my feet on the floor and start my day that way.
That is
Um,
beautiful. I don't think you ever shared that before. That's what a
I
beautiful
did.
practice. Beautiful,
Yeah.
simple, and that's what you do like every day. Now you're just used to that, so it happens automatically.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
imagine if
beautiful.
the whole world sort of had a simple practice that they did every day, how what the exponential effect it could have on the planet, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so some studies were saying, that there's so around the hardwiring, that they have shown that there is actually a place of gratitude in your brain. They can see it sort of light up on the
Mhm.
studies when people are practicing it, right? And so the concept is to continue to try and light that place in your brain up, over time. And that essentially what it does is it turns off the cortisol at the same time. So not only are you lighting
Mhm.
up, feeling warm with gratitude, but it's also diminishing the cortisol and the stress that we're sort of swimming around in. So it's kind of this
Yeah.
twofold thing, right? That we're doing. So
Yeah.
there were these, it also can affect your physical health. So not just your mental health, but there are these studies that were done on the benefits of your heart, which absolutely makes sense because you and I talk about heart brain coherence, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
times our warm, fuzzy feeling in our heart comes from
Hmm.
gratitude, whatever, right? There were other ones. There was another one. This is fascinating. One that was done in New York City with some teens, and they found that teenagers who practiced gratitude were less likely to drink alcohol and do drugs. How about
Mm.
how about that?
Yeah,
Having some gratitude around that, right?
absolutely.
And then the other piece that they found was around sleep. So they found that people who are practicing to before they go to sleep fall asleep faster and
Mm.
have more continuous sleep throughout the night.
That's for me.
Wow, right? And
Yes,
the gratitude thing is cheap, right?
that's right.
Doesn't
Such
cost a thing.
it's an elemental practice, like, and that's what our core tools are. They're things that are from the heart, and they're things that you can do wherever you are, whenever you are, without it costing you anything. You can do this once you know them, once you learn them, however you learn them, and then you remind yourself to practice them, and you share them with others, with
Yeah,
your kids, with your parents, with your grandparents.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
In
remarkable.
in relationships, I was doing some of this social emotional training a few years ago, and the woman who was teaching the class was telling us about her and her husband's practice. And so before they went to bed at night, they would just kind of roll over and hug each other and just tell each other what they were grateful for in that day, right?
Hmm.
Like what a nice way to go to sleep, right? And because
Yeah.
you can go to sleep and not be so happy with the other person, right?
Right.
And we all know
Right.
that that's not a good way to go to bed, but
Yeah.
so
Or with yourself or with the world, you always have these options, and it's easy to go to complaining, to judging, to what's wrong with the world, and look at that guy over there, and oh, I can't believe, and what if this driver, and if instead you make a conscious choice and you go over here and you say, wow, the sun's really shining today, that's really beautiful. And what I this one's, again, it's an elemental, but I flick a light or switch on my wall and light comes into my house like magic. I turn a
Mhm.
knob and water pours out. I turn another knob and I can have hot water and I can bathe in that. And I have, I have food every day and I have a car to drive, and roof over my head. Start with this really basic stuff that
Yeah,
we can take it for granted, but there are people who do not have that,
yeah,
especially in the world today, in war torn places
yeah,
where people have lost everything, where people are in the streets, where
yeah,
they're refugee camps,
yeah.
and
And I would imagine even those people are finding some gratitude, whether it was
if you
a slurp of water or
yeah,
maybe something to lay their head on or whatever, right? No matter how bad it is, somehow people can find some gratitude, right?
right,
I,
and then
I,
your
I think it is
priorities can
possible.
really shift too if you're in that
Yes.
situation where now you're like, who cares if that person cut me
Yeah.
off, or whatever, all these other things, like
Yes.
my children are safe, my children are eating, like these are
Yeah.
the things. And so if we start here, then we build, and we know that gratitude is a magnet, it's attractive, it brings more of what we're grateful for in. And so, yeah, find something to be grateful for and then practice that.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some ways that people can practice that
Yeah.
more? Yeah, like if they're not sure how to start.
Yeah. So they called it in this article I was reading a GQ. GQ? Is that a magazine? GQ? No, no, it's
It
not
is a
GQ.
magazine,
Yeah, GQ.
but
Yeah, so it's called gratefulness quotient.
okay. Yeah,
What is your gratefulness quotient and
sure.
how can you increase your gratefulness quotient? So
Hmm.
anyway, there's something in here, we'll talk about journaling because that's something that we do for sure, right? But it was something called a happiness jar. Have you heard of the happiness jar?
Is that is that like putting notes in it, or is that a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
jar?
Yeah, no, 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 that's what it
Yeah,
is. And
that's it.
so it
Okay.
started with the do you see the movie or read the book Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth
I
Gilbert?
did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's
Yes.
been a few
So
years,
she
but
had one of those. She had a
yeah.
happiness jar. And
Hmm.
so throughout the day or throughout the week or whatever, you take these little pieces of paper and you write down something that you may have been happy for in that moment. And then you fill this jar up. And then so what happens is when you're having those not so wonderful days, you can go to the happiness jar and pull out
To
one of your
remind
happiness
yourself.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I love that idea of the jar. And I actually have heard, I'm sure people have heard of a gratitude jar. It's kind of the same thing, but I like it even better because the word happiness can be, um, I don't know, it can make you feel like, oh, I need to be happy all the time. But if you can be grateful all the time, that's a whole different thing. So grateful for, like I said, one thing that you've got to magnetize more in and remind yourself of the things that you do have to be grateful for. And if we get into, again, that negative mindset of complaining, judging, criticizing, we easily forget all the things we
Yes.
have to be grateful for. But when we
Yeah.
focus on the things we have to be grateful for, then it's generative. Like you'll feel more gratitude, and again, you'll draw more in, and
Yeah.
that will lift your vibration. And that's part of what draws it in when you're
Yeah.
vibrating higher. Nobody wants to be around the person who's complaining all the time,
Yeah.
and I don't know, there's something in it that strokes our ego to complain and to judge and to be like that, but nobody else wants to be around that, and it's
No,
not
for
helping
sure.
you. It's taking you down, down,
Yeah.
down instead
Yeah.
of up into joy,
So you
into
talked
joy.
about, yeah, you talked about reminders. So there are, I guess there's gratitude apps now, where you can set little alarms, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
it's a piece throughout the day that can just set a little alarm. We a lot of times we'll do it for just taking a breath or whatever, but you could have a
Hmm.
little a gratitude alarm, and especially
Yeah.
I think, maybe not so much for myself now in this day and age because I'm a little bit retired, but if you're, you know, hauling butt and, working hard and you're out there grinding every day, or you're sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours, or you're sitting in a cubicle, how nice would that feel to have a little gratitude reminder? Just
Yeah.
stop, have a thought like, man, I love my mom, or
I think that's
man,
why people put those pictures of their family in their cubicles or wherever. Like,
yeah,
it's such a good idea in your car.
yeah.
I have a little picture of my son Herschel when he was about 5 in a swimming pool. And it's like I don't know why, it's just cut off. Like, it must have been a bad picture, but I liked his face in it. And I just have it in there. It's like moves around my car, and it just makes me happy to see it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, reminders are great.
Yes.
Reminders
Yeah.
bring
Especially
you back.
until those habits become part of your DNA. Like
Yeah, until it's
you
one
walk
foot on the
around.
ground, think, and second
Yeah.
foot on the ground, you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And that's the other thing about these practices is sometimes it's a space. Like, I know people have meditation rooms or meditation chair, and
Yes.
it's just like when you're doing homework and you're a kid, that's your place. When you get there, your mind is like, oh, now it's time to focus. If it's your
Yeah.
meditation time, now it's quiet time. Now it's time to meditate. Maybe it could be a gratitude chair. When I sit here, I think of things I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
So the things that bring your mind back to that.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And we think of
Mhm.
Oprah and her gratitude journal, her famous gratitude journal.
Yes.
She knew what she was doing, and
Yeah.
the woman has manifested some huge good in
Whew.
her life. Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
you can't say anyone handed it to her, because they did not. She worked hard for all of it, but
Yeah.
she stayed the course. And as she got smarter and wiser and more conscious, she drew more and more in, and she shared that good. And what
Yeah.
a life. What a life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We used to do this back in the workshop days, and I was sort of reminded of this, but we wrote love letters to ourselves. Do you
Mm,
remember this? Right? So it just reminded me of, like, you know, I love that when I get a card in the mail from
mm,
someone that's sort of handwritten, and someone
Yeah.
just wrote it just because. Like, it didn't have to
Yeah.
be anything special. It didn't have to be your anniversary or whatever. But that old-fashioned idea of sitting down and taking the time to write a card, I think is really beautiful and magical. It seems nowadays, most of the time I get those from someone who's older than I am, right?
Yeah.
Who takes the time to find just some old card they had laying around and puts it in the mail and sends it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to, for the new year, I want to start doing that. I'm gonna
Right.
get
Doing that.
some cool cards
You know,
and getting some stamps. I'm gonna go
get
old
some
school. I'm gonna
postcard
start.
stamps. Yeah. Or
Yes.
yeah. A couple weeks ago when Frank was in Hawaii, he picked up a card in one of the hotels and
Yeah.
sent me a postcard, just said, I love you. And that
Yes.
was so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
like a warm fuzzy to go to the mailbox
For
and
sure.
pull something out, right?
Yes.
Our good friend Gabriella does this with her business.
Yeah.
All our birthdays, all our anniversaries, she
Yeah.
sends these handwritten cards. And I love it. I
Yeah.
love it, right?
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sure she had
nice.
to be reminded on her phone or whatever because we all have too many things to remember, but she wrote it and she took the
Yeah.
time.
She's a busy woman.
It took time for her to sit down and do that, and I do
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, and then, I wanted to remind everybody to, we're all having gratitude for all those things in the outer world, right? People around us, stuff, family. But what about having some gratitude for yourself?
Hmm. Yeah.
Stop and think about that.
Yeah. I was just saying that to my son. He can be so hard on himself and he's so good at pointing out all the things he thinks he's doing wrong. But
Yeah.
what about looking at all the things you have done and saying, well done, you're
Yes.
stop, take a moment, breathe, look at your accomplishments, look how far you've come,
Yeah.
and be grateful for the work you've done and for who you are. Honestly, you don't have to do anything to be grateful for yourself
Right.
because
Right. Right. Well,
yeah,
and I think, you and I have done quite a bit of work around this, but I think for a lot of people, it means like, oh, we need to do these big things. I need to
yeah,
take a big vacation, and then I need to go have a full day spa, and I need to
yeah,
do all these things, right? And then people don't end up doing it because it's like, oh, wow, like, well, I don't have money for that. And so they never get around to taking the time to do this. But we all think we need like these, 10-gallon buckets of stuff to like make us feel better, when all we need is just a tiny cup, right? Just fill your cup. And it doesn't even need to be the top, but put something in your cup like every day. Just one little
yeah,
thing nice for yourself, right? And I think
yeah,
everyone, especially during this time, completely
yeah.
forget about yourselves.
I
Completely
know,
forgot,
especially,
right?
and I know there are things that are changing, and we do see lots of dads who are stepping up more, but traditionally the moms are making the magic for the holidays, and we've got the kids, and
And
we're
making
trying
them
to
making themselves crazy.
making,
Yes.
yeah, we're driving ourselves crazy. We're wearing ourselves down. And when you're younger, it's easier. The older you get, the more you pay for these things. Like that's the other thing
Yeah.
for me. Thanksgiving and that running around on my tile floors and then my feet.
Or
My
hurt.
feet will just kill me. So
Yeah.
yeah, so take time for you.
Yeah.
Find a way to have a babysitter so you can go out with your partner or with your women friends or with whoever. You deserve, again, we talk about the mask, putting your own mask on first so you can help others. You
Mm.
got to take care of yourself if you're going to be able to share more with your family. And yeah, don't ever feel guilty for that. You need to take care of yourself. And our kids should learn that, and our spouses, whoever we are, people need to learn that. I I know I've talked about this before. I thought I did the superwoman thing. I thought I could do all this stuff. I could mow the lawn and make dinner and keep the house clean and decorate and work and do all these things. And look at me, I'm doing it all. And what happens is you train the people in your life that you can do it all, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
learn
What
to
do we
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are we modeling?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is like a family should be a collaborative experience. Every group, like communities, people, everyone has their strengths, and let people serve you too. And I see it sometimes with older women, oh no, I've got this, I got this. No, you cooked, you sit down, or you've been cooking your whole life, sit down, let me bring you something.
Right.
We let each other, we what was it? The minister used to say, Reverend Lish used to say, you can't give or receive with a closed hand. So you have to have your hand open so that you can give, but also so that you can receive. If
Mm,
you don't receive, there's no flow, because
yeah.
you will get tired and broken and resentful. And nobody
Yeah.
wants that. Don't
Yeah.
don't do that. Like, say,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? I need a break.
Yeah.
And well, someone else can do that thing and wait. Or it's not even that. I go back to that. It's not just like I'll do the work all the time and once in a while you'll do me a favor and help out. No, we all are doing this together. We're in this collaborative
Yeah.
environment where it's not all falling on one person
I love
who is
that. I
normally
love
the
that.
mom.
Yeah. You want to close this out with a little practice?
Yeah, so we talked about tools. Journaling is definitely one of our tools, and you can do your gratitude journaling, like Deb said, make that a practice. Maybe in the mornings, maybe before bed. I know this isn't anything new, but if you haven't heard this, put that book right there next to your bed and take the time
Mm.
to maybe write 3 things you're grateful for,
Yeah.
and maybe you write more, but you just put that down and let it
Yes.
magnify, let it
Yeah.
unfold,
Because
let it generate more.
yeah, and because that will set the intention for your morning as you wake up, right?
Yes, or
Yes.
for your night, or for like that. I love
Yeah.
that about sleeping better.
Yeah.
So yeah, to become, if you're hearing this and thinking, wow, I don't really do gratitude. I don't stop and do that. Don't think, oh, I'm just not that person. This is where you get intentional and say, I want to be that person. I want to do that work and I can do it. And I'll just take a step. And maybe I start with one thing I'm grateful for and I keep adding, because that's how it goes. The more you're grateful for, the more you'll have to be grateful for, the more
Yep.
aware you'll be of the good in your life. So that's a
Yes.
practice. And I definitely recommend that. But another one that we were thinking of doing this morning is it's our bilateral tapping tool, which is in our CourTools platform and our CourTools app, which has just been released on Google Play and in the App Store, people. And we are running a special right now. It's not a monthly, it's not a yearly, you're not going to keep getting charged. It's a one-time lifetime membership. And that is normally $100 for a lifetime of this app, which will support you always, and it will continue to get updated. You'll get all of that. But right now we're running at 50% off. So $50 for a lifetime of these tools, which you will learn and then you will share and you will uplift your life with them. So one of the tools is bilateral tapping. And so I would love for you to just participate with me. I'm going to walk us through it. And then it's something you can come back to, and it's something that maybe you can use and adapt for yourself. So, what I would encourage you to do if you're not driving a car or somewhere where you're not safe is to just find a quiet space to sit for a moment. And if it's comfortable to you, you can allow your eyes to close as you receive a deep breath in, filling your lungs and your belly. And we do that 3 times, 3 deep breaths in and release. And that's how we clean house. We clean out all the little worries and the things that are going on. And once you've done that, you can come to a more centered space. And so as you're sitting up nice and straight, or you can do this lying down, in your mind, imagine a place that you love, a place where you feel safe, a place that brings you joy, that makes you feel relaxed and at ease. It could be laying on the beach somewhere warm. It could be cozied up by a fire with a blanket and a cup of hot cocoa. Could be at your childhood home or out hiking. Whatever it is that brings you joy, whatever that place is that puts you in that connected, loving, grateful spot. And just imagine yourself there. Feel the feeling of being in this wonderful space, smell the smells, even hear the sounds of waves or seagulls or whatever it is. And then when you're established in this vision, in this place you love, cross your arms over your chest And then just gently tap the front of your shoulder, one side, then the other. Left, then right, at a gentle pace. You can also do it on your knees, just your right hand on your right knee, your left hand on your left knee. Tap, left, right, left. And you can even do it with your toes, under your desk, under the table, tapping right, left, right, left. And you just continue to tap and visualize this space that you love. And as you do that, it calms your nervous system. It helps you to release the stress, the anxiety, the cortisol that Debbie was talking about, and just become centered and calm. And you can do this for a couple of minutes. You can do it for 10 minutes if you want. You can do it for a half an hour, whatever you need, as long as it's feeling good and regenerative and uplifting to you. And then whenever you're ready to stop, you just receive another deep breath in and allow your eyes to open and come back to the space you're in. And that is bilateral tapping, and it's really that simple. So I hope it's something that you take with you into this holiday season. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, sit down and try a little bilateral tapping, visualization, deep breathing, and bring yourself to a place of more calm.
Thank you, Marci. All right, everybody.
Thank
Enjoy
you for
your
listening.
holidays.
Yes. Stay calm and enjoy and be grateful.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Now let's try an abbreviated EFT tapping session. So instead of going through all of the points, we'll just use the side of the hand, or what's called the karate chop point. So holding your hand up like you were going to do a karate chop, then with the other hand tapping at the side of your palm, right next to where the fleshy part of your palm is. And you just tap there with your fingertips. Tap, tap, tap. And while you're tapping, you can say, or in your mind think, some affirmations, such as, I am safe. I am okay. I am worthy. I am abundant. And that's all there is to that.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes CourTools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our CourTools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.